According to the information provided earlier, the IAEA mission was supposed to reach the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant today, but the Russians announced that they would not expect it until tomorrow morning and would not let the delegates' cars into territory they control.
Finally,
At the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, we have a very important task to perform, to assess the real situation on the spot and help stabilize it. This operation is very complex. We're going to the war zone, we are going to the occupied territories, and this requires clear guarantees from Russia and Ukraine.
to perform.
We give them a list of the main very important points there which they should check, and that is from technical point of view. And another is the understanding where the Russian military is on this day. We have information that they are now trying to hide this military presence, and so they should check all of this.
In recent days, the media coverage of the situation in Ukraine has been dominated by the topic of the Ukrainian counteroffensive in the south of the country. In general, foreign journalists and analysts speak about this, but the command of the Ukrainian armed forces calls for restraint. The Ministry of Defense and the armed forces recommend refrain from guesswork and do not comment on the actions of the armed forces. Only the command is authorized to provide information on the course of combat operations. You should not disseminate your own forecasts of the course of the operation. And most importantly, information about the course of the combat operations can only be disseminated by the armed forces of Ukraine, and imaginary successes will not bring us closer to real victory. The information silence on the part of Ukraine is not only understandable but also intentional. Yesterday already showed that publicising this topic does not serve the cause. This is an informative emphasis on the activities of the Ukrainian armed forces. The front is a living organism. The situation changes very quickly. Therefore, we will not talk about tactical successes or failures on a regular basis. It is even forbidden. Ukrainian military intelligence reported that hidden mobilization is already underway in the largest Russian cities, such as Moscow and St. Petersburg. People drafted into the army will join troops in the occupied Crimea. For Russian soldiers who do not want to fight in this war, the Ukrainian armed forces are distributing instructions on how to properly surrender on the front line. First of all, you need to remove the ribbons, the markings that the Russians use. Then hang the rifle with the magazine detached over the left shoulder, necessarily with the barrel down. Holding something white in your left hand, walk towards the Ukrainian soldiers. Once visual and verbal contact has been made, follow all orders and avoid provocation. Captivity in the armed forces of Ukraine is better than war. Ukraine is preparing to start the school year. Over the last few weeks, teachers and parents have been preparing shelters and securing windows in school buildings. Since the beginning of the invasion, the Russians in Mykolaiv have fired shots at 77 educational institutions. 2 schools were completely ruined, and in 2 some buildings were destroyed. In order to preserve schools for children who will return after the war, we tried to secure them as much as possible. Today, in one of the schools in Kramatorsk, in one of the classrooms, teachers and parents lit candles, set flowers and spread out notebooks and signed the names of children who will never sit on their pews again.